I feel like I know we've spent significantly less switching over to Onepage, having a more optimized website and not having to put so much into marketing and ad space versus just having good organic SEO, because we can optimize it with our keywords on every page as well as the title for every page.
Hi, Adrienne. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to do this interview with you.
Oh, thanks, Art. Thanks for having us.
Of course, yeah, we're really excited to hear a little bit about your story and your journey to Onepage and how you've been able to use Onepage to, build a public-facing website for your business and, really run some of the important parts of your business. So let's just start off by going back a little bit and tell me a little bit about what you do, your business, and how you've started to use Onepage.
We're Michigan Property Inspections. We're a home inspection company based in Central Michigan. Prior to starting our company in 2024, we were a property management company in Central Florida where we did property management and the home inspections for those properties that we managed. And then in 2024, we came to Michigan. As we were here and starting this business, there was a lot to take on. As a business owner, you're wearing a bunch of hats, so you can't, be a master of all. And while my background is in web development and marketing, I just didn't want to handle the web development myself. So we hired that out. The gentleman in the company that built our website had it on a different platform. And about 6 months into it, I asked him, could you hand it over to us? We'd like to make some edits, add new services, edit our pricing, and be able to do that in real time. And so when he handed it over, I just found that it was significantly difficult to maneuver around the website. I also saw that it wasn't very mobile friendly. And I just knew that web developing site wasn't what we wanted to stay on. So I started reaching out to different marketing companies and agencies, and I actually had it was a consult with a marketing company, and they suggested that we use Onepage.io, and I had never heard of it before. And so I was like, you know what, if this is, and he was a really good marketing agency and he knew what he was talking about. I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. So went on it, a little hesitant because again, it was a brand that I never heard of before.
Sure.
But once I got on there, I just found it to have it was just user-friendly. The templates, the click and drag features, all the different features that, we have on our current site just were easy for me. And I figured if one day I needed to hand it off to someone to edit themselves, I felt comfortable being able to do that.
Right. Yeah, that's such a common story, really. You often, as a business owner, you're wearing all the hats, right? You can't do everything. So sometimes you have to contract out part of the work. And despite your, background in web development and, HTML and, just software in general, like you still find yourself, sometimes outsourcing some of this work. But what really matters is that, like, yes, you use this agency to build something that you like, but you have to be able as a business owner to periodically and constantly make changes and
Right.
updates, because your website shouldn't just be this static thing. It should be dynamic. It should evolve as your business grows. You add new services, you change features, you change your hours, your pricing, you name it. There's always things that need to be done to optimize. And if you yourself are finding it difficult to do despite your background, then that is probably not a good fit. And I'm glad that, you found Onepage and it's been a total game changer for you and your business. So let's talk about your site. It's obviously a property inspection site. I would imagine that the site sees cold leads that will eventually convert into customers. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, in fact, that was one of the features that I also liked about it, is that we could integrate different widgets and apps into Onepage using HTML coding. And so we have a software that we use for our booking site, and you can actually use that booking site as your website, but it's basic. It doesn't have a lot of purpose other than booking. So I was able to actually integrate that into Onepage, and it was quite easy. I mean, it was almost like a point and click situation. But that's one of the many reasons why we love it, is the scalability, the build out. It just was really simple for us to be able to integrate all of our needs into it. And even looking at like the future, being able to build it out. Like right now we're working on a blog. And so we were able to do that again on Onepage and build that out on there. So there's just different features on there that when I look at where we are today as a business, it works today, but it also is going to work for the longevity of the company and what our future plans are.
Right. Onepage certainly has lots of different custom elements, features, integrations, you name it. But one website builder, can't do it all the time. So the ability to inject custom code, whether that be like a JavaScript snippet, or even if you're getting a little bit more into the design, editing the CSS and all that kind of stuff, is so important, because you might need to integrate other tools into your website, which it sounds like you've done for the, the booking or the calendar component to capture those leads and then eventually, convert them into customers. So it sounds like you've done a little bit of that already with Onepage. So it allows you to really like grow outside of maybe some of the like sort of stock or custom elements that they, offer on the platform.
Yeah, definitely. And while my background is in web development and marketing, it has been a long time since I've actually had to like build out a website. And so I needed something that, because as you know, with technology forever changing, my degree right now is just, it just doesn't exist. Like if I took what I learned years ago, I try to apply it today, it's like, it's totally expired information. So now I'm using Onepage. And for someone like myself who like knows a little bit about it, I felt comfortable enough working with it and integrating all the different things. And like when you're talking about the HTML code and the CSS, like to me, that seems a bit complex, but it's not on Onepage, and it wasn't being able to take what our existing software was for our booking and being able to apply it onto Onepage. And even like our analytics, like I'm just now learning about like Google Analytics, and I'm trying to get more into it. And as I'm learning that Onepage has all these abilities to integrate that as well. So when we're talking about leads to the site, I'm seeing, I would say since we got onto Onepage, I think we had a 25% growth in our organic traffic to the site in comparison to where we had it hosted before. Now, that's not to say that the site we had it hosted before, I couldn't have done that, but to try to find it on their site, to try to edit that, it would have taken me forever. It's just easily labeled on Onepage. It's easily, I can edit things, I can find things. Even their customer service, I've been able to reach out to them. It's not been an issue. And that's another thing, is like dealing with so many of these different companies, customer service is key. Right now I'm linked to someone at Onepage that, I can always reach out to them by email. I get an answer within 24 hours or less. Like it's not something where I'm having to wait for days or weeks even to get a response, because as a business, when there's changes you need to make or there's an error on your site, like that can be a lot of loss of business. If someone goes on our site and tries to book something or they can't find something, like that could be a lost lead. And to us, that's lost money, and I'm not willing to risk that. So I liked a company where we can reach out to them, engage with them, be able to get answers quickly. And if I can't get a hold of them, they have a really good like help section on their site to be able to walk you through things.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, having your site be performant, have, solid uptime, as well as just being like user friendly. I know you talked a little bit about like sort of the mobile experience before not being great for your customers, and that's been since much improved since switching to Onepage, I believe. But is there anything else, like aside from, the mobile to the desktop? And of course, we talked about some custom code and, injecting some other tools into the site. Is there anything else performance-wise that you've noticed is a real big difference after switching to Onepage?
Yeah, our page loading is different, the page load speed. On the last one, I felt like people would actually say to us, your website's not working. And it's like, oh, give it a minute, just give it a minute. Like, I couldn't understand. And again, this is something that was too technical for me to even understand, but just as a general user, I can see now the difference from the last web hosting company that we were using to Onepage, the difference in the page load. Also, when we're trying to work on SEO and I need to input keywords, because we're a service business and keywords to us are so significant. It's significant due to the fact of the service that we're offering, but also to the area that we're offering it in. And with the SEO optimization that Onepage offers, they have this SEO and social section where I can go ahead and input all my keywords based on the service area, based on the services in general that we're offering. I can actually input different page titles so that, again, it's getting tracked in all the search engines. Like it makes it easy for us to be able to get that organic traffic and not have to put so much ad spend into like whatever, Google ads, local service ads, all the different ad services on social media. I know we've spent significantly less switching over to Onepage, having a more optimized website and not having to put so much into marketing and ad space versus just having good organic SEO, because we can optimize it with our keywords on every page as well as the title for every page. And it's easy. It's not like I have to search through the whole site to figure out where to do it. It is on every one of our pages that we're able to edit that.
Yeah, it's always great when you can, use that sort of like organic juice, which will decrease ad spend and just, over time become, more trusted on Google. You'll be show up better in results, where paid ads really don't do that for you. You don't pay,
No.
you don't get those results, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you touched on it. Like Onepage it's not just site-wide keywords. You can put in specific keywords for each and every page. So if you have a site that has a lot of pages, like obviously the keywords that are on the main page might not apply to one of the sub-specific pages. Or if you're doing something like programmatic SEO, where you're trying to target one specific thing on your page, you can put in the keywords just for that target on that page. And I think you touched on it, and it sounds like what you're doing has been paying off in terms of like organic search results. So that's awesome to hear.
Our ad budget I think we cut it by 30% just by switching over and having that ability to maneuver the keywords in our SEO and social on our Onepage sites.
That's amazing. That's honestly incredible. And it should be like that for everyone, right? It should be easy to manage. And you're the owner. Sometimes you're making changes, but you want, your non-technical staff also to be able to, log into the site, make changes, update the pricing, whatever it may be. It should be easy enough for anybody to use who's, familiar with the computer and can use the internet. So is it just you primarily making changes on the site, or do you have staff members as well that are also able to edit the site?
At the time, it's just me, but the goal is, as we are growing, like I was mentioning before, the scalability of the site, I want to also have that scalability to be able to say to someone, here's our site, put together a quick little PDF manual of how to go through everything, what to do, and it'd be easy. I don't want to have to spend weeks training someone on how to edit things on the site. If we need to add a service to our site, I want to be able to say, hey, go add this, and not have to go through so many steps. And it literally is so user-friendly that I don't even think I would have to do too much training, if anything, because everything is so clearly labeled. It's, with our pages right now, we have different services, right? And with every service, what I love about it too is that I can click on it and hit duplicate. So if I want the same format, the same layout on the website, it just duplicates our service. So I can say that to someone, go duplicate one of our service pages and just add a new service, change the images, obviously change the text, and then, add the different pricing in there. And it's super simple. So I feel comfortable as a business owner that one day, as we're scaling and moving on to, bigger things, that I can hand this off to someone and not have to worry about the longevity of training them, or if they're going to mess it up, or them having to worry about where things are on the page, because it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, one of the most time-consuming elements of web development is, when you have to create a very similar page, and the fact that you can just like one click, duplicate, reuse components from page to page, and even have global components like the header and the footer. You change it once, it changes in all the pages, are a huge time saver. So I'm glad to hear that you're using those features in Onepage. And one other thing that I wanted to touch on a little bit when you were talking about, SEO and other tools is, I think that what I'm hearing is that, by using Onepage and having all of these tools under one hood, not only are you're saving time, but you're saving possible technical headaches by integrating third-party tools. You don't have to install, a bunch of plugins and third-party apps that have potential security risks, because it's all under sort of one hood in the Onepage platform. Would that be fair to say?
Definitely. And not just that, but I have worked on other platforms before for web development and web building. And one of the things that drove me crazy is when you want to integrate these different tools, there's another monthly fee. And it's like, it's a headache. As a small business owner, you don't have all that cash flow to be able to constantly putting in, $20 a month for this and $30 a month for this. If you have a site like Onepage where you can put the HTML code in and you already have a, whatever it be, a scheduler or something else that you're already using, you don't have to worry about if they're partnered together. You can just put the code right into that page and it populates onto your site already. So I love that, because I'm looking at, this one page that we used to work on, and it was like, no, you have to subscribe to this and pay for this. And I'm like, at that point, I'm already paying for the web developer. I just need the code. I'm already using something to schedule my stuff. Like, I just don't want to have to pay another $30 a month.
Yeah, and that stuff always has the chance to break down as soon as you're using third-party tools or integrations or plugins. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, it's more time-consuming, but it also just adds another point of failure. And like you said,
Right.
if things are failing, you might be losing business and you might not even know it, because somebody could come to the site, they could get frustrated, something's not working, and guess what? They're going to move on to the next person in line and book with that company. So
Exactly.
uptime is super important, and it all sort of ties into that. I think it would be really helpful now to pull up your site, and we can just like sort of walk through it, show it to the audience here. You could talk about, some of the things that you've built on this page. You can sort of guide me through it if you would like, but right here, we're seeing a really, nicely designed page with a beautiful hero, very clear call to action. You show your services, you have this book now button, you got social proof. So yeah, tell me about some of the different elements on this page and what you liked when you were building it.
So you would mention the global sections that they have. That I absolutely love. That is something that you do not find on other web builders. And so just for everyone listening, the section on top, the header, where the menu is, the call to action button on the right, this is one of our global sections. And then even down at the footer, it's the same thing. It's like, this will be copied, or I can copy this very simply onto every one of our pages so that it stays consistent. I don't have to worry about, like, if a client clicks on a different link to go to another page, that the menu shifts a little bit, or that and these are little things that people don't think about, but it catches the client's eye. Like they see it. It's like that shift of the font is bigger or whatever, because you can't copy that same, section to every page. But with the global section that they have here, it allows us to do that. So that I absolutely loved. The other thing is, in our home inspection business, there's varieties of services that we offer. We have 36 different certifications, and we want to make that stand out because we're one of hundreds of people in the area. And how do you do that? And how we needed to do that was to show all of our certifications in this little slider that you see as it's scrolling through, and it's all of our different certifications. And so it kind of tells our clients, here's all the different services that we're certified in. We don't just offer these, we are actually certified in these. And we wanted to display that as one of the very first things that they see. Kind of gives us those credentials, a little bit more, credibility. And so we want our clients that are on the site to see this first thing. So that was one of the things that Onepage offered, is that really nice slider, type of a carousel type situation, where it's just constantly scrolling through. And that's easy to edit as well, because our inspectors, they're constantly continuing their education. And if I need to add another one of those certifications, it's just a click and add. It's very simple.
And it looks great. I love it. It's very, easy to digest. And if you're reading other things on the page, you sort of get this scrolling validation of, trust from this company, because you can see all the services here. And like I said, it looks great. I really like how this looks. It's smooth. Thanks. And like you said, it was pretty easy to put together. Something like this on other platforms, I know from experience, can be quite complicated to build. Just resizing images is making it look nice.
Yep.
So let's scroll down the page a little bit more. You have some, different, what's really nice is as we scroll through these different sections, each one looks really good, but they're also distinct and they're broken up really well. So we have to sort of dark to white contrast, which makes it easy to read and see the different sections. I love this here with all your different services. I would imagine, if we click into, one of these, we're going to see more information about that specific service, like radon testing or home inspection. But it's a really nice way to show the customer all the services that you offer. And was, putting together this service section something that was pretty easy to do in Onepage?
Oh, it was simple. In fact, going back to what you were saying about the contrast, that's part of the template that we used on Onepage. That wasn't something necessarily, I'd like to take the credit, but I really can't. This was one of their templates. So they give you these different sections that are already in contrast, but they complement one another. And so you're not, if you're not someone who's good at design, I, as a business owner, I know a variety of things about our business, about business in general. But when it comes to design, I'm not the greatest at picking out the different colors, the contrast, something that's going to complement each other. But that's what Onepage had. They had this great template already set up, but we could also modify it and we could customize it to what we needed. So when we're talking about all the different services and the different little circle logos, that again was something that Onepage had. They had this section where I could just input the image. I could put a link to that image to have it go to whatever page I wanted, whether it be a page off of our website or a page within our website. And it was simple. I mean, they even had this grid where I could decide how wide or how narrow or how many per row or column. I mean, it was really easy to customize it, and it gave us a lot of options, which I like because I'm a little bit of OCD with how things are laid out, and this allowed us to kind of put things in order to that looked well for us and served the purpose that we needed it for.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing. I love templates myself. Sometimes, I start with a template and I end up removing a lot of things, but it gives you a really nice foundation to build off, or even if not a foundation, it gives you inspiration. Maybe you don't end up using things, but you say, oh, I really like how this looks. Maybe I'll try to build something like that. Or, oh, I don't like how this looks. Okay, that's fine. I can just remove that section and use the parts of the template that I like. So I really like that you started from a template. I think it's really smart. Unless we're, most of us aren't, web designers or have a design background. So unless you're that person, a template is a really, nice way to get going. And Onepage has a ton of different templates to choose from, all kinds of different styles for different businesses and niches. So glad that you found one that works well for you.
They also allow you to kind of figure out your brand kit. So with a brand kit, it's your font, your colors, kind of everything that's going to follow in line consistently throughout your branding. And with Onepage, I found it was really nice that if we wanted to keep all of the font the same, that's like, so we have like behind me, I have like magnets and folders and stuff that we give out to clients. And there's a specific font that we use on there and colors. And if I wanted to keep that consistently on Onepage, I can do so. There is a section where I'm able to tell it exactly what font, tell it exactly what color scheme I want, and input it into one of their already pre-made templates, but it continues to keep the consistency of our branding throughout with like our brand kit, colors, fonts, and so on.
Yeah, that's so important. I'm glad that you mentioned that, keeping everything on brand throughout your site just creates a cohesive experience for the customer, builds trust. And even if it's just little stuff, like you'd be surprised if, as me as a consumer, if I'm, navigating through a website and I click to something and it's like a totally different font, like users, customers pick up on that and that might just diminish the trust just a little bit. So having a brand kits be easy and accessible within Onepage is super important. Okay, is there anything else on your page that you want to point out or any feature that you use within Onepage a lot that you want to talk about or, and just anything else in general on your site that's worth mentioning?
So not necessarily on the main site, but one of the things that when we were talking to a marketing agency about how we can get more organic traffic to our site and more SEO, they kept saying to us, a blog, you need to have a blog. And as a business owner, you're like, it's a dreaded thing to have to hear because it's one more and a blog. I'm like, okay, who's going to write this? Like it's a lot. It's very overwhelming. And to not have to think too much about it, Onepage allowed us to open up a secondary site very easily that continued to keep the same branding, color scheme, and user-friendly build out as the website. And so that was one of the things that I loved about it is that all in one space, I just log into my user backend and I have my website and then I have the blog site and I can, interchangeably work with them. And it's easy. And while we still have to write the blog and it still has to have the right SEO keywords and, whatnot, it took away the one headache of how are we going to do this and how do we integrate it into our website? And Onepage kind of helped us guide through that, which was pretty simple.
Yeah, that's such a great point. There's so many website builders out there that don't have the built-in blog component at all. And then you end up having to subscribe to a totally different service just to maintain your blog. And guess what? It's on a different subdomain, potentially.
Yep.
You don't get that same SEO juice. It's tougher, all the things we've talked about before. You have to, pay for another service, manage another service, another fail point, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. Yeah, thanks for going through your site a little bit. It really looks good. Great job. I'm sure that, like any website, it'll constantly be changing and getting updated. And it sounds like you could do that yourself. But I think that this is a gorgeous site. It looks really, really good. It's easy. It's got a nice hierarchy. It's easy to follow. I think you did a really, really good job building this. And I'm sure it looks great on mobile. I haven't looked, but I'm sure it looks great on mobile.
Yeah, that's the thing is that it's a little bit different on the mobile because we're able to do that. We can change it on the back end and make it say, only this section can be seen mobile or only this section can be seen on desktop. But I appreciate the compliment on the site. We actually get a lot of compliments from realtors because that's one of our clients and clients that are going onto the site, but mostly realtors because they're the ones looking for home inspectors for their clients, and they want to make it so that it's easy for their client. And if it's easy for them, then they're happy to pass it along. But if it's not a site that's easy to follow through, easy to read, it's clear, then they're just like, no, this, like you said, the trust kind of the brand and the company's gone and they'll move on to the next. So yeah, we get lots of compliments on it. And I think it has to do with a combination of a little bit of our skill, but more the Onepage templates, the user-friendly, interface, and it's worked out really well for us. So we're happy with it for sure.
Awesome. Well, Adrienne, such a huge thanks from us in the Onepage team for sharing your journey, talking about your business, Michigan property inspections, and giving us like this sneak peek behind the curtain of how you're using Onepage to grow your business. It's so valuable to not only other business owners, but people out there who are looking to enhance their presence on the web. For anybody who's curious to check out your page and just look at how you built it, we will be sure to drop a link in the show notes below. So you can check that out if you're interested in seeing it. And if you're curious about how Onepage can streamline your website and your conversions, head over to onepage.io, give it a try for free, and we'll see you at the next interview. Thank you so much, Adrienne.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.